Joel Embiid, a magnet for free agents.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. LinkedIn Jobs help you find a qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your jobs for free. Terms and conditions apply. Hello, I'm Keith Pompey, and this is my right-hand man, John Mitchell. We are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk to you about today. First of all, is Joel Embiid a magnet for free agents? Right? Secondly, we want to talk about, are these said free agents and their agents, are some of them just using the 76ers for leverage to get what they really want from the teams that they're at right now and the teams they really want to go to? And thirdly, we got to talk about the 76ers culture. And, we're going into the draft season, but it's been a lot of drafts where the 76ers just made some blunders. Markelle Fultz, other things, to where as you look at a lot of these free agents that the Sixers want to go after, but guys who they could have drafted, but they chose not to. And look at where we are now. But Mitch, when we talk about Joel Embiid is a dominant force. I think when healthy, he's the most dominant player in the NBA right now, right? He has when healthy. Yeah. However, he's not always healthy. However, it's hard playing if you're a top-notch player, a top-notch like scoring guard or wing. Do you want to go to a place where the center is basically dominating the ball and doing things? So, there's two things. He's often injured. Secondly, it's kind of hard. It's hard to play with if you're a dominant type of ball dominant player. So the question is, do you think he's a magnet for free agents?
Well, let's look at the good and the bad. Like you already take them off. The good, when he's healthy, he's as good as it gets in the league. He's as talented as a big man, with a treasure chest of talents, the likes of which, got to go back to Akeem Olajuwon. Maybe Akeem couldn't shoot the three. Obviously, the three wasn't being used as much back then. But his availability is his issue. As we've said ad nauseum now, he's missed the equivalent of four full 82-game NBA seasons due to injuries since his career started. So that's a problem. So again, when he's out there, you love to have him. But one thing I noticed about Joel, as talented as he is, I think that Joel has a degree of selfishness that impedes the team's progress. And what I say by that is, too often when everybody knows they need him to play more at the rim, he doesn't do it. And a guy compared to his joke, and we talked about this offline, if you put a 6'4", 6'5" guard, if you put say PJ Tucker, swingman on joking, he's going to take him from 25 to the cup. Unlike Joel, will stay out there and crowd the perimeter. And that becomes problematic for the 76ers because you have perimeter players, Tyrese Maxey. You want to get everybody going. That's the key to basketball. Not to have one guy just crushing it, but to have everybody going. It's no matter how you look at it, it's still 5-on-5. And lots of times, I think that Joel plays. It's just in his mind that if he's playing what he believes is the right way to play, that he's doing everybody a favor, and sometimes he's not. And I think that other players see that. I think they know that he's not always going to be available. I think other free agents know he's not going to be available, and they want to see they if you want to play with Joel Embiid, you want to play with Joel Embiid. You don't just want to play with him 39 times a year, and you don't want to sacrifice your game, which made you the desirable free agent that you are. And I think a lot of times Joel's talents, he's a victim of his own talents, but he's also a victim of selfish play. And we all say it's a conundrum because you say you want your greatest players to be selfish, but you don't want it to diminish other players sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's the thing. So you're right. I think this is the thing that goes on. Like, you look at Joel Embiid and you need, first of all, it has to be a certain type of player to come in there. Like, there's certain guys who just won't fit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just throw it out there. Like, if you're a ball dominant offensive type of guy, this and that, it might work out for a little bit, but then after a while, you're going to end up having that James Harden, Joel Embiid situation where both of them want the ball. They're saying all the right things, but you could just see that the chemistry just goes awry in the big moments, right? So you just can't have those type of players.
Right.
As much as people want to play fantasy basketball, it ain't going to work.
Right.
Secondly, of the players who would fit, the players who are like those wings who are selfless, like a 3-and-D, like I'm just going to say a Mikal Bridges. I'm going to say a Paul George, a guy like that, person that you really want, a LeBron James or someone like that. And what I mean by that is these are guys who don't have to take all the shots, don't do anything, but they'll fit in and they'll play well. The main attraction is Joel Embiid. You want to come here and play with Joel Embiid because, to be honest with you, if Joel Embiid isn't playing, that team is no better than the team that you just left.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, maybe Brooklyn, but it's like a little push, right? You take you take Embiid off the team, the roster they had, and you have Mikal Bridges playing with that roster they had.
They might, and didn't they beat them? Didn't they come in here and beat them pretty bad?
They did. So when you factor all that stuff in, it's like, man, do I really want to come here if the brother's hurt? Like, because all of a sudden I'm getting paid, but I could have went elsewhere. Now the money is great, but at the same time, we battling for the play-in tournament. I think it's tough. I do think it's tough, man, because there's certain players who need the ball and want the ball, like a Donovan Mitchell. As much as everybody says, go get Donovan Mitchell needs the ball. How is that going to work? Like, how is that going to work? And then, like, you go get LeBron James, you go get that. If you don't have Embiid, LeBron can't get this team out, the Lakers out of the play-in tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like, I mean, the same with Bridges. Like, you need somebody you need Embiid. You need that presence, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a blessing, and you watched it up close and personal more than anybody, man. It's a blessing and a curse, because the pecking order in the NBA is talent, right? And from a talent standpoint, Joel's is so far off the chart, and the guy who I think could, who could fit alongside Joel really good is about to turn 40. It's LeBron. He's a guy, and he's beyond the genetic freak what he has in his arsenal at this age, and you could have that trio of him and Maxey. I think
Max coming out the East though.
It's
I'm saying, if just him and Maxey, like, they would have to.
They could. I think they're better than a play-in team. But
they're better than a playing team, but I don't see them. Like, Maxey would have to take another step further, and then you would have to have I think you would have to have a specific team around them. Like you would have to have those two and the other stuff. Like I think that the thing that brings them out the East is Embiid. I mean, because the factor is like you look at. I mean, I know. Let's just put it this way: when the Lakers were healthy and the Sixers were healthy, the Sixers had the Lakers one of their worst losses in a while this season early on. You understand what I'm saying? And then afterwards, it looked different when Embiid wasn't there. But when you look at this Lakers team, I mean, yeah, they won games. They got the bubble championship. But you had a couple guys who didn't live up to the hype that they had. A bunch of retreads, right? And I hate to say it because they were young retreads, but they were still retreads. They were dudes who were lottery picks who didn't pan out for their first, second, or third team. And then, you know, they had 2 stars. That was it. So I look at it like, you know, you got to do some serious signings, free agency. You got to build a serious roster because if not, I just feel like LeBron and Maxey, it would be LeBron. It would be just like the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron, if not worse. Like I just think they have a lot of holes, man.
No, they would, and LeBron's in a bad situation when he is forced to play super extended minutes.
Exactly, you know? He would be forced to play super extended minutes. Exactly,
and that would be problematic.
Nick Nurse would be fired at the end of the year. Oh, no, crazy.
Right. Another coach with a championship ring couldn't make it happen in Philadelphia, and you know. And we'll talk about some of that cultural stuff that impacts the 76ers when we get back from visiting with our sponsors, LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster. And here's a key word: for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many candidates. It's so easy, in fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's LinkedIn, .com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? Do you sometimes have to turn down the volume with all the shouting and the mumbo jumbo at a high volume? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. A free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Every day. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So here's the deal, man. So when we talk about this now, it's weird. Like I was in Vegas and, I'm talking to people about who they project the 76ers could be interested in, right? So the thing goes, it's kind of like just about every player who the 76ers were supposed to be interested in before even when they were trying to get Ben Simmons, when they were trying to trade Ben Simmons, when they were trying to trade James Harden,
Yeah.
Name every player who makes a salary who's close to a all-star caliber player. All those names came up.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So when to me, it's kind of sort of like, okay, when you really have a focus, it tends to be you may have 3 or 4 guys or a little small circle of guys you're really serious.
Mm-hmm.
When you start naming all these people, either you don't have a plan or you look at it like and you say, we're just throwing names against the wall to get people like off the scent a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, but then also when you look at it, every team now, then a lot of guys aren't saying Utah for whatever reason, but like teams like Detroit, the 76ers and all that, they have all this cap space. And a lot of people are attaching their names to that. And what happens is word goes out like, look, if said team doesn't give my player what he wants, the 76ers have a lot of interest.
Yeah.
With that interest, we may end up going there, right? And sometimes you wonder, are teams just using the 76ers for cap space?
Yeah.
Just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are they? Because, and the same with Detroit. Like, Detroit's going to have a lot, Orlando's going to have a lot. And you hear, like, these are the names or these are the teams that keep coming up. And do you feel like players are doing that for the Sixers? Or do you feel like there's some interest in, with these teams?
Well, I think the Sixers, because of the huge amount of cap space they have, agents are sharks, man. Agents are sharks, and they're going to feed people that information, and they're going to just if they want their guy, to to get that big deal, they're going to use the Sixers cap space, and I don't say if it's a bargaining chip for them and their players, and the mindset could be if you don't give it to us, the 76ers will, and teams are going to use that. That's going to be a ploy. It's a bargaining chip, and that's kind of like the whole blessing and the curse thing you get when you have that type of money available. But you have to ask yourself the question, okay, well, why hasn't Philadelphia become this magnet for free agents anyway? And of course, obviously, part of the reason is what they haven't had the massive amount of free agency space available, cap space available to them this year. But yeah, they're going to get that because you see, it's almost like a smorgasbord, Keith. You see all these different names every time you turn television on, when or you log onto the internet. There's more speculation. Sources said this, sources said that, sources are saying, and sometimes some of those sources are somewhat specious in some cases. So I think there's a lot of that going on. Yeah, there's some of that going on.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing for the Sixers, and the fact it's just at least that space is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I think? I think a lot of it, really, to be honest with you, I think the Sixers think that they have a good chance of getting Paul George, and they do, and I think they do right now. But I also think that a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, nobody's going to know what's going to happen until the Paul George things. Yeah, yeah, and I think there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things being thrown out there, but I honestly think we won't know anything until. And they won't. Either side won't know anything until like it comes to the 11th hour. You know how that 11th hour goes. It's like, oh well, this is what we're going to do for for like free agency. I mean, not free agency. Like this is the money we're going to give you. This is what we're not going to give you, and then you pivot. So it's like there's a lot of people saying they ain't going to do this, they ain't going to do that. But that's just how it is, man. That's just how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that logically it looks like Paul George because it looks like it almost looks questionable the Clippers to give him more money than Kawhi because number one, Kawhi is the more accomplished player, But Kawhi's availability as he just gets older and older becomes more and more of a question mark. And it's like, do you give a guy like Paul George, who's been, who's had a great career, and Paul George is a Hall of Fame player,
Yeah, exactly.
But do you give a guy like that who has not been available when your issue is already a guy who's not available to you, who's also a Hall of Fame player? They're going to a new building. And they're probably going to start holding the line in some place. So Paul George becomes like that obvious magnet that you look at, and again, they're the Clippers. And when you think of teams with messed up culture, that would be, that has been ground zero for that. But when we get back, we'll talk about some of the mistakes and the cultural problems in the 76ers history that are haunting them right now. As we move forward into their future. Right now, I want to talk to you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or die every time, or your hard-earned money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So, quick segment. The thing that you talked about. What do you? I mean, the culture. Like, what should you get just with their culture, man?
Well, there's a 3-year stretch in the Sixers' relatively recent history, 2016 to 2018, where they did more self-destructive things than any team should be allowed to do. Beginning in 2016, it's well chronicled that they drafted Ben Simmons with the number 1 pick. And you just look around at who they could have had. They could have had Jaylen Brown, they could have had Sabonis, who was a third-team All-NBA. There's Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, a guy who you hear talked about now as a potential acquisition for this team moving forward. I mean, even DeJounte Murray, who we talked about, at the trade deadline. And then to follow that up with Markelle Fultz at the number 1 pick, not, because picks bomb out, as we all know. When you're taking that guy number 1, and you can say it's about a lot of teams, who pass on certain players, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Bam, Lauri Markkanen guy, OG, Derek White. Hell, I'd even be happy with a knucklehead like Dylan Brooks at this point. And maybe even Josh Hart. Josh Hart was in that draft. So to come away from those drafts with nothing, with absolutely nothing, not when your pick is number 12, 13, 20, 21, but when you've got the number 1 pick, when you've got bedrock players, and you're firmly in the process. And then they turned around in 2018 and drafted Mikal Bridges and traded him for Zion Williams. If you did Google, if you were to do chat,
Zion Smith.
Zion Williams. That's the
that would have been like, okay, yeah,
football player, right? Zion Smith. What is Zion Smith? Is he a substitute teacher in Waco, Texas?
Oh man, nah. The problem, I like Zion. The problem is he got that food allergy thing, and then he got hurt after that. And he just hasn't been the same. Yeah.
Hasn't been the same. And, Godspeed to him. But And topping that off, it's if when they were making these brain dead decisions, the whole burner phone Twitter account scandal was going on under Colangelo. I mean, it was just it was like this is a pro. They were the laughing stock for a 3-year period, and they're paying for it now in trying to bring acquire players that they potentially could have had, and it's just a comedy of errors that. Which is why lots of times when you talk to people, you say, hey, it's the culture of the 76ers. It's not so much Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a great player, but would Joel Embiid have advanced beyond the second round of the playoffs if he were in another situation? Well, if you do the right things with number one picks and your general manager is not creating burner accounts all over the place, maybe you do. And they're still recovering from it, man. They're still in recovery mode from that.
Yeah, I agree. They are in recovery. It was weird though because some of those guys that you're talking about, they worked them out, and we interviewed them, and you kind of figured like, well, will they go after them or not? Like, because I remember Nas Reed came in, and it was weird because his body looks great compared to how much weight he lost. Once he was at LSU.
Yeah,
and then Derek White came in, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think. He may have came for a second interview or something like that. I'm not 100% sure though. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about some pretty good players.
Yeah.
The Josh Hart thing was a little weird because it was a local guy. The Sixers initially they didn't have a late first round pick, but then they traded up to get in the first round, and they drafted Petrovic, who. He's from the same town as the center for the Boston Celtics.
Porzingis.
Yeah, Porzingis. He's from not the town, but same country. But so then they draft and they send him overseas for a year, and then all of a sudden they just waive him.
Yeah,
and you're like, huh? Yeah, it was like, yo. But again, it was crazy. But that was all in that Markelle Fultz trade. I mean, draft. So it's funny. None of those dudes made it. They had a dude from Germany, a brother, but then they had a dude from Australia. They had the dude from Lithuania, wherever he's from. I mean, wherever country he's from. And then they had Markelle, and none of those dudes made it. None of them.
You can't recover.
And then here's the one thing that they really messed up with too from the gate was Jeremy Grant. Yeah. Jeremy Grant was a role player, second round pick. But apparently
with his father extensively in Washington.
Yeah. And but the funny part is it was like one of those things that really like they talk. I think Jeremy Grant was a little bit outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
He was outspoken.
Okay.
Didn't like the way they treated. They didn't allow a woman to sing the national anthem because of her like the way she felt about something like racially insensitive stuff. Nah, she took exception to something.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't allow her to sing. So by doing that, he spoke up about it during the team meeting afterwards to at the time the CEO, and they got him out of there. Like they got him out of there. But then you look at it and you look at how his career has taken off,
right?
And this and that. Another guy we're watching. If we got to be real, how do you not re-sign T.J. McConnell?
Man,
I mean, they haven't had. It's two guys. So you got Drew Holiday, who you traded him to New Orleans to start the process. So the process, if you like, a lot of people want to talk about Joel Embiid, but Joel Embiid, if it wasn't for a foot injury, Joel Embiid would have been a Cleveland Cavalier.
Yeah,
he would have been that guy. Mm-hmm. So the process to me created really three dudes, and you got rid of all three of them. Well, one was T.J. McConnell. No, and T.J. McConnell. And what I mean by that is we talking about we talking about second round picks, and we're talking about undrafted players and people you picked up. So you had Robert Covington, who was with the Houston Rockets. He comes back. I mean, they trade for him. He becomes a starter in this league. He gets paid. He goes on. He came back in the trade in November. T.J. McConnell, an undrafted free agent, and then Jeremy Grant, a undersized big who you didn't have a position for him.
Yeah.
So these are three guys who turned out to be legitimate rotation in the NBA, right? That you had, and you didn't know what you had. Oh, another one that they got rid of, Isaiah Joe. You know what I mean? So, it just seems like they keep making these same mistakes over and over and over again. And Isaiah Joe was crazy. That was the dumbest. That was bizarre, man. So Isaiah Joe was shooting, and he was shooting above 50% from three in training camp. Guess what they did, bruh? They benched him. They stopped playing him because they knew it looked crazy, right?
Your own worst enemy.
Huh? Charles Bassey was looking. Charles Bassey would get in the games and they talk about how great he was and this and that. Then they waived him too. So it goes. It's like it's just a lot of bonehead decisions. Or what about the one time they went out there and picked up George Hill in the trade, and George Hill he was supposed to help him in the playoffs. That didn't work out. And then also, the brother couldn't play for the first month because of his hand.
Yeah. And all this stupidity, and they're still waiting to get beyond the second round.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy. But look, man, we could talk about this forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
But you know what, y'all? I want to talk to y'all before we go. I want to talk to you guys about Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And for my man Mitch and everybody else, we want to thank you guys for listening. We hope that you guys have a blessed day and the whole nine. And this weekend,
happy and safe weekend. Memorial Day weekend.
Just don't eat too much of that barbecue or whatever you're going to do, but just make sure you do have a great time. Peace, y'all.
Stay safe, y'all.